Okay, so today's lesson in maths, we're moving on and we're talking about transformations. Now, with transformations, you may have learned about this in year 3 or 4, or even year 5, but you may have learned about it under a different title. The title you may have learned about it under might have been called flip, turn, and slide, but in stage 3, we changed these terms to reflection, translation, and rotation. And these are the terms you're going to see. You're not going to see flip, turn, and slide in your tests or anything like that anymore. These are the 3 words you're going to see. I thought I'd make a little bit of a quick sheet just to show you how I would remember it if I was doing it. With the word reflection, you can see clearly there's a FL in here. So you could say that reflection, you can see the word flip in that word. With translation, the SL, you can see there's the word slide. And look, I'm clutching a little bit to say there's 2 T's which make turn because there's also a T here and a T here. When you think about it, rotate. If you know the other 2, then rotation you have to know anyway. I mean, you should know rotation. It's just translation and reflection sometimes people get tricked up on. So reflection, the FL, flip. Translation, you're going to slide it. And rotation, you're going to turn it. Now, it's really important when we're turning it, you're going to see these things start to pop up. You're going to see whether you want to rotate it 90 degrees, 180, 270, or 360. Now, 360 is the easiest because you literally just leave it there. But the rest of them, 90 degrees would be 1 turn, 180 degrees is 2 turns, 270 is 3 turns, and 360 is you just leave it. But the other thing you're going to see is you're going to see these terms. You're going to see clockwise or counterclockwise. Now, what that would mean would be with clockwise, if you're turning it 90 degrees clockwise, then picture you were having a clock and you're going to make 1 degree, but like in the same way as a clock. I'm not going to do it on screen because I'm worried that I'm in reverse and it will confuse you. But basically, counterclockwise and clockwise, we're going to look out for those sort of things. So reflection, translation, and rotation. Like I said before with the symmetry one and rotational symmetry, it's really important if we're going to do this, you don't try to do it in your head. Spatial mathematics is not something that's easy to be done in your head. Quite often you need to have something in front of you that you can physically turn because sometimes it's really hard to do it in your head. I'll give you an example. Let's say you had this moon shape, okay? Maybe, you know what, maybe I might try to keep... Nah, there's no real way of me keeping that up. I'll keep it up here just in case we need it. Okay. Okay, you have yourself a moon, and the first thing is I want you to do it as a reflection. Now you can hear the flip part in reflection, and you know that reflection means you're going to flip it. So you keep it where it is, and you just flip it across like that. Now you might also say, same shape, and you might say, do a translation. Translate. Ready? Slide. You literally just leave it as it is, and just slide it across. The other one would be rotation. Now, it's really important. Usually sometimes they even have an anchor chart, so they might even have like a dot here. Like this. And they might say rotate at 90 degrees. What they mean is that dot is an anchor, which basically means, sorry, give me 1 second, I'll see if I can fix this green screen a little bit. Which basically means that point does not move. Okay? So if I'm rotating at 90 degrees, I leave that point there. And I'm going to rotate it, so I'm just turning it once, okay, like that. Okay, if I was turning it 180 degrees, I keep that still, go once and then twice. It should end up completely upside down as that shape. Okay, and remember that was clockwise. Let's try a different shape. Let's try a shape like this. I'll put my thing in the corner. And we're going to say, okay, I want you to slide this shape. Great. Now, when they ask you to flip the shape, they're going to say, where does that end up? That's going to be the important part because they're going to put a dot in the corner and they're going to ask you to redraw the shape as a flip. Now, if you can actually see through the back of this, so you'll see if the reflection ends up here, then as you flip it over like this, you'll see the dot actually ends up on the opposite side. So it's really important that you put the dot in the right space. So actually think, if I was going to flip this over, where would the dot end up? Okay, so just like this one, if you've got this shape here and you say to rotate it, let's say 180 degrees, you keep that still, you go once, you go twice, it ends up upside down like that. Okay, quite often they'll tell you the anchor point, otherwise they just want to make sure that the dot is in the right place. I'm going to give you guys another one. This is going to be the one that I want to explain a little bit more, because this is what you're going to have to sort of deal with more in the questions from stage 3, is when they have multiple different shapes in each corner, so they're really making sure that you don't, that they're trying to trick you. So let's sort of add like an arrow, an X, and a circle. Okay, and they ask you to flip it over. But they don't say flip, do they? What do they say? Reflection. That's it. So reflection. They ask you to draw it again. So as you draw the shape, I wonder if I could draw the shape. I can't find my square, which doesn't help me. What I might try to do is I might try to cut out my own one really quickly. Okay. Very, very dodgy job, but anyway. Let's say that's my shape that I've drawn. Now they've asked me to do a reflection, which means everything should end up on the opposite side. Okay, so this part ends up on the far side here. That one ends up on the far side here. And this dot here would end up here. Now I'm just going to make sure that I'm right. Oh, it's got stuff on the back. But, sorry, as you can see, that I was correct. So, what happens if they ask me to rotate it? They're going to ask me really specifically how to rotate it. So they're going to say, rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise. So that's 90 degrees, one turn, but it's the opposite way. And they're going to ask you which way the arrow is going to be pointing. That's where it's going to be tricky, because I can tell you now how it's going to look. So instead of going the way the clock goes, you go the opposite way, so you go that way. But when you're in a test or something like that and you have to try to do it, it's really, really important that you just draw it down on scrap paper or something and actually turn it yourself, because quite often it's really hard to know what that's going to look like. All right, so that was a rotation. Okay, rotation. Then we have translation. Translation, I find it hard to believe you get it wrong. Translation. That's the answer. Redraw it again, just slide it across. Okay, so my big tips today are redraw all of the shapes. Use the reflection, the FL, to know which one's going to be the mirror image. So it's basically if you're going to flip it across. So you're going to look at it in a mirror. Okay, so picture you're on one side. The mirror image of my hand would be if I flipped it like that. Okay. But it's really going to be a lot of these dots and stuff like that when they start to turn them. And you can see, like I said, 90 degrees, one turn, 180 is two turns, 270 is three turns, and 360 is all the way around. If they ask you 360, don't draw anything. Okay? And remember, clockwise, think about the way a clock goes, or counterclockwise, go the other way. All right? I hope that that has helped with these things, and you're going to see a lot of these questions in your work for today. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching.